I think that the really hardest thing for us to do was like after the first two books, first two stories, it became pretty obvious that time travel is dangerous and that the time travel experiment's been put away in the future because it changes the past and changes the future. So if things go wrong, you could end up wiping the future. So once we started going back, and we went back, of course, and reread the first two books and watched the series and realized that in actual fact, once she thought about it for a while, Alana had made some mistakes in the year 2500, which had actually led to the destruction of the Northern Hemisphere. And so we started to think, well, she's probably carrying a bit of trauma from all that. Now she's grown up and gone, I'm actually, how do you forgive yourself from those childhood mistakes you make? But still, then we thought, well, she's not just going to travel back in time to catch up with her old friend. So we had to come up with, realize an existential threat. It had to be something that was so huge that there was no choice but to steal the time capsule from where it had been, locked away and head off back into the past because it was on her. So it took quite a while to come up with that. And then, it went, okay, I think we've got it. Here we go. So, yeah. So the idea of, aliens, which is like a good sci-fi trope, but, I see just recently there's something coming through the solar system soon that could be aliens.
This is the most extraordinary opportunity to examine the lives of two people who knew each other as teenagers and, as you say, have lived a whole lot of life in the intervening years and have gone in very different directions, and a chance to examine that in the context not of many of other films like these where people who haven't seen each other get together. It's quite often in the nature of a romantic film in trying to figure out whether the feelings they once had for each other are the same. But to do it in the context of an adventure story where the fate of the world hangs in the balance is quite an interesting challenge. And I think that's one of the things that I found attractive about this. And it makes the job of writing the book a challenge, because you're writing it for people who knew these characters as teenage girls and are going to be very interested to see how they turn up as adults. But for people who are coming to the story for the first time, what's it going to appear to be like for them? They're going to have to go back and read the other books in order to make sense of it. But the challenge of doing these girls as adult characters with all of the life they've lived in between and how that affects their relationship, which was the absolute core of the first series, is just going to be a lot of fun, I think.
I just want to disagree with Mark slightly there. I don't think everyone will have to go back and read the original books to make sense of the new one. I think that's a challenge for us as writers, that the new one makes sense as a standalone novel. If it stimulates people to want to go back and read the first one's great. But certainly in the way the dialogue and the story works out, it should be pretty clear for people who haven't read the original books. But hopefully the other ones get reread as well. But of course, with time travel, we also had the possibility that it could have been an older Alana coming back to the 1990s, meeting a young 14-year-old Jenny, or it could have been a young Alana who'd really just got back to the future, had to turn around and come back again, but came back 30 years later. So we could have had a young Alana and an old Jenny. We talked about all these possibilities and then really got quite excited with the idea that it was two women with whole lives of experiences between them for whom that 14-year-old experience was almost a bit of a dream, really. Like, particularly for Jenny, she's got on with her life and had some very strong experiences. And so, like the idea of her once close friend coming back, I mean, it's virtually like they're dead to each other, really. There's thousands of years between them. So that became very exciting for us. And the idea of using our life experience too, to really think about, what it's like, because even though neither of us are middle-aged women, but we've known quite a few.
it'll make us feel really good. I think, the worst thing that could happen is that actually nobody buys the book and we, feel really bad and end our lives on a low point rather than a high point.
But also, I mean, I can't think of another science fiction book that's got two middle-aged women right at the forefront who are actually finding like that's a very novel idea. I remember when we were doing the original series, some people thought it wouldn't work because it had two girls in the main characters and science fiction was all for boys. And that was proved very wrong. And boys enjoyed watching it as much as girls did. And it's actually a chance. I know a lot of women don't read science fiction, but there's hopefully quite a lot of women out there who really enjoyed The Girl from Tomorrow, who might just take a go at this to read this and go, oh, this is pretty good. Because science fiction, it's just drama set in a more exotic location, really. And it's talking about the world we live in. And it will be funny because, I mean, already just bunching ideas around, there's wonderful comedy between Alana and Jenny. And because Jenny now, because she became a musician. She's had a hard life. She's got involved in drug, sex, and rock and roll, and she's had a child, and the marriage is broken up, and like life is not great for her, but she's had a great life, if that makes sense. And so then this person from the future comes. You got to get back on the horse again. You got to risk your life again. It's like, oh my God, no, help. But also the idea of what it is, reassessing your life in middle age. I don't think it matters that much whether you're male or female. It's like, okay, when a challenge arises, do you step up or not? We have all those things in our own lives, whether it's a lot smaller than, existential threat to the planet. But, it's exciting. And then the whole thing about having children and families and ailing mothers and all the stuff that's there in our domestic lives, but turned over now into an adventure story is very exciting for me to be confronting. So, and it's taken a long time for us to come up with a storyline that deals with all the things we want to deal with. But I think now we're very happy with the story we've got and that sort of seeing ideas that we've been developing. And, so Mark and I, and that's been, look, I've got to say, the great thing about this crazy guy in England contacting us and stuff is that it's got me and Mark working together again. We hadn't done that for a few years. We've tried to get other projects off the ground in the last few years, but the funding bodies here are not really set up anymore to give money to old white men. And so we found the idea of us developing another TV series particularly hard. And it wasn't happening. So we tried that, then sort of put it away. And then this idea has come along again. And so you appeared and we've gone, actually, I think he's real. And so we started, doing a lot of talking on the phone and sending each other writing stuff. And that's been really good for us to just go, oh, the writing partnership has come back together again. So, that will hopefully continue. I mean, the great thing about crowdfunding is you do get a sense, or we will get a sense of whether there's an audience out there for this idea. Yeah. And so it's great. We're not going to have to waste a year of our lives writing something nobody ever reads. I mean, if enough people do it, we'll go, it might, I don't know how many hundreds of people that is to get the thing funded, but then we at least know we've got an audience of several hundred that are definitely going to read the book.
And just to follow on from what John said, the process of us getting together again to work together is a bit like Alana and Jenny getting back together again after all that time. And, we've been working together on different projects for quite a few years, and our experiences in those different worlds will bring different perspectives, just in the same way as Alana and Jenny will have different perspectives. So the two journeys are an interesting mirror of each other.